The second part of the series of antiretroviral drugs. And in this series, we are starting with the basic classification of these antiretroviral drugs, which are commonly prescribed to treat a case of HIV infection. So, the first group already I have mentioned at the end of the first series, that is nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, and the common drugs are zidovudine, lamivudine, didanosins, stavudine. So these are all nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. By inhibiting reverse transcriptase, they are inhibiting the replication of HIV virus inside this CD4 cells. Whereas the nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitor is tenofovir, and tenofovir is basically available in two salt forms. One is disoproxyl and the other one is alafenamide. There is another one from this group of nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor that is more or less congeniate to lamivudine. That drug is emtricitabine. Whereas the one group which is acting on the same site as the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, but they are structurally different from the previous group of drugs, and that group is called non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. Nevirapine, efavirenz, delavardine are the common examples of this group. The third group, which is basically inhibiting the protease enzyme, the enzyme which is responsible for cutting off the long polypeptide into small segments, is known as the protease inhibitors. And those inhibitors are saquinavir, indinavir, ritonavir, lopinavir, atazanavir. So all these avirs are belonging to protease inhibitors, and they are playing a key role in the treatment of HIV infection. The other groups are the entry inhibitors, out of which enfuvirtide is also known as fusion inhibitor, which is preventing the fusion of those drugs, those HIV variant with the CD4 cells, and the maraviroc, which is basically a co-receptor inhibitor. It is having direct effect on CCR5 co-receptor, that is called chemokine receptor 5. So basically maraviroc is a small molecule and a CCR5 receptor antagonist, whereas the enfuvirtide is basically a synthetic peptide, and it's designated as entry inhibitors. The entry of viral organisms into host cells are prevented by giving enfuvirtide like drugs or enfuvirtide itself. The fusion of HIV with the host CD4 cells is an important step in viral replication, but enfuvirtide is never going to be your first choice of drug in case of HIV infection. And the last group is called integrase inhibitors. They are preventing integration of these viral DNA into the host cell, host chromosome, and those drugs are raltegravir, elvitegravir, and dolutegravir. And these inhibitors may be given with the drugs called pharmacokinetic boosters. Those drugs are cobicistat. So this is in brief a classification of these antiretroviral drugs. Coming back to the last slide of my previous presentation once more, and here you see the site of action of the different groups of drugs I have mentioned. Here we are seeing that the chemokine and CD4 receptors, that is basically the co-receptor called CCR5 receptor, that is chemokine receptor 5, is inhibited by maraviroc at the very top. And then you are seeing that enfuvirtide, which is basically at the left hand side preventing attachment and fusion, so it's basically a fusion inhibitor. Then we are seeing nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors and non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, and that should be associated with another group that is called nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitor, tenofovir. These three group of drugs are basically acting by inhibiting the reverse transcription, whereas these integrase inhibitors are raltegravir, tipranavir, these kind of drugs, and these drugs are basically preventing integration in the host chromosome. And lastly, at the end, you see where the budding and release are being shown. These budding and release basically depending on the enzyme called protease inhibitors, which are cleaving the long polypeptide chain into the smaller ones, and this is being prevented by protease inhibitors like lopinavir, saquinavir, ritonavir. So these are basically the site of action of all these drugs. So this is basically the combination of drugs which are being shown in this presentation, where we are trying to make it sure which drugs are prescribed and in whether they are giving alone or in combinations. And you have also to pinpoint the issues that what is going to be your treatment guideline in case of HIV infection. So your treatment for HIV is based on the following guidelines, which includes the restoration of CD4 counts, which is suppressed or depressed in case of HIV infection. To effectively suppress the virus, and you have to reduce the viral load very quickly and substantially to an undetectable level and keep it there as long as possible, as it is not possible for give your patient a permanent cure ever. Now you can also try to improve the survival rates of the patients. You should prescribe a drug which is easy for administration and the schedule which should have a minimal adverse drug reactions. So, and the combination therapy should not be given in a manner that you will lose all your weapons in single shot. So you have to keep some drug in the reserve. In case of resistance, you must be capable of using those drugs. So in combination therapy, a single drug is not effective in suppressing HIV, and it has to be taken in combination with the other antiretroviral drugs to meet the previously mentioned criteria. And as it's mentioned over here, non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor based therapy, that is efavirenz, tenofovir, emtricitabine. Tenofovir is the nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitor, or the protease inhibitor based therapy, where you are seeing atazanavir and ritonavir combination. The ritonavir is prescribed to boost the effect of atazanavir, and it is giving in a very low dose because ritonavir itself has a lot of side effects or adverse drug reactions, and it is combined with again of the same group, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, and the integrase inhibitor based therapy, where you prescribe dolutegravir with nucleotide and nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, that is tenofovir and emtricitabine. Now one thing is pretty clear, you are keeping non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase as a reserve weapon in your hands, so that if resistance occurs to one group of drug, it can be substituted with one from non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors like efavirenz, delavardine, nevirapine. And it becomes necessary to change the drug combinations depending on host difference and your clinical findings. So when we are talking about the principles of drug therapy, we also must ensure that this drug therapy is definitely be an attempt to give your patient a kind of relief and give eliminate the chance of having HIV infection, and that's the reason why this is probably the one group of drugs which is given as pre-exposure as well as post-exposure prophylaxis. In case of post-exposure prophylaxis, your aim is to using these antiretroviral drugs for the prevention or reducing the risk of HIV infections, mostly if the patient is having an exposure within 48 to 72 hours. But even if the patient is presenting late, the chance of having infection is pretty high, but you have to start the medications. And it is depending on the nature of the exposure, whether it's due to sharp needle injury or long bore needle injury, or it is, the kind of loss, blood loss is more or less. So so many factors are playing a key role. From where the exposure is the person is getting, is having a high volume load of these virus, or having low exposure to this virus. So on the basis of all these things, you can classify this post-exposure prophylaxis into two regimes: the basal regime and the expanded regime. In the basal regime, it's basically to prescribe two of the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, like a combination of zidovudine and lamivudine. Whereas in case of the other one, that means if it's an expanded regime is required, that means the exposure is more, the chance of having infection is high, patient probably is not presented within 48 hours or 72 hours, you can think about giving an expanded regime where two of these nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors should be combined with a drug like indinavir. Or nowadays it has been given not in the NACO regimen, but it is given in this regimen that tenofovir and emtricitabine should be combined with the other group of drug like protease inhibitors in case of post-exposure prophylaxis. Whereas in case of pre-exposure prophylaxis, this is aimed at people at very high risk of HIV infection. This is required to take these HIV drugs daily to lower their chances of getting infected. One such example is the person who is positive for HIV, the person is basically preventing the contracting HIV from a person who is positive for HIV, a sexual or injection use, drug using partner. That means pre-exposure prophylaxis is not for everyone. This the goal of this pre-exposure prophylaxis is to help the HIV negative person, but basically that person is already exposed to having a chance of exposed to an HIV affected person, probably taking, as I said, injection drug, or maybe a chance of exposing to a partner who is having that HIV infection. A combination of emtricitabine and tenofovir is the most preferred drug in combination of pre-exposure prophylaxis. Normally emtricitabine 200 mg and tenofovir disoproxil form, which is given as a 300 mg in most of the cases of pre-exposure prophylaxis. So this is one infection where both pre-exposure and post-exposure prophylaxis can be given to the patient, and it is always better to remember two drugs which are common in case of both in post-exposure prophylaxis, and even in case of pre-exposure prophylaxis it can be associated, or it will be given with some protease inhibitors. So when we are talking about the principles of therapy, one has to consider all these things before starting a kind of regimen which I have shown 2 or 3 slides before this one. And always you have to keep it in mind that take heart at heart. HAART stands for HAART, highly active antiretroviral therapy. Current HAART regime or options consist of combination of at least 3 drugs from at least 2 classes of antiretroviral agents. The typical regimen consists of 2 nucleoside analog reverse transcriptase inhibitors like non-nucleoside drug like zidovudine and lamivudine, or combination of tenofovir with some other drug like lamivudine. In the hospitals like West Bengal, or we are following the NACO regimen, and mostly we are prescribing the drug like tenofovir and lamivudine, and sometimes we are prescribing a non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor like efavirenz with that. So the regimen which is prescribed here in West Bengal in case of HIV infection as a part of heart therapy is basically tenofovir, which is a nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, lamivudine, which is a nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, and efavirenz, which is basically non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. Sometimes these two, tenofovir and lamivudine, are combined with a protease inhibitors. So here the principle of therapy includes that HIV replication tends to immune system damage, and it progresses into AIDS, that means acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and systemic immune activation. So in this case you have to think about giving therapy to this patient. Plasma HIV RNA levels indicate the magnitude of HIV replication and the rate of CD4 T cell destruction. That means the CD4 T cell count indicates the current level of competence of the immune system, and mostly you will see it will vary from 200 to 500, and in some cases, severe cases, it is even less than 50. If it is less than 200, this is basically definitely following, you have to follow the treatment guidelines which I have mentioned before, the heart therapy, and you have to start this therapy in the patients, in these group of patients. The maximal suppression of viral replication is a goal of therapy. That means the greater the suppression, the less likely the appearance of drug resistance strains. So you just have to remember, it is not about the previous way we think about this HIV infection that we defer our therapy. Rather, the earlier you treat, the earlier you going to suppress this viral replication. The most effective therapeutic strategies involve the simultaneous initiation of combination of effective anti-HIV drugs with which the patient has not been previously treated and that are not cross-resistant with antiretroviral agents that the patient has already received. So whenever you have a problem with one group of drug while treating a patient, you have to select the other groups where the patient is not being exposed. That is the reason why either you are keeping protease inhibitor in your hand as a reserve drug, or non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor in your hand, or even you can keep with these any one of these with integrase inhibitor in your hand, so that you may start therapy later with this kind of things. Or if you start therapy with the integrase inhibitors with the kind of drugs, then you may have to keep the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor and non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, so that you can use those drugs in case of resistant cases. The antiretroviral drugs used in combination regimens should be used according to optimum schedules and doses, otherwise it will lead to severe adverse drug reactions and chance of resistance will become more, and the efficacy will see efficacy at the effectiveness at the initial stage, but gradually it will reduce with long-term use of this drug. The number of available drugs is limited, and any decisions on antiretroviral therapy have a long-term impact on future options for the patient. So you must be very much calculative about selecting your drugs. So it's all about a risk-benefit ratio according to which you will select your drugs. It's a female patients, they should receive antiretroviral therapy regardless of their pregnancy status. So mostly even in pregnancy, to prevent this kind of vertical transmission from the mother to the fetus, you may use zidovudine. It was used previously. Nowadays the nevirapine is used, and you can use it throughout the pregnancy. So it's not that the pregnancy is an absolute contraindication for these drugs. Rather, by giving some of these drugs, you can prevent the transmission of this virus from one person to a newborn, likely newborn baby. The same principles apply to children and adults. So the treatment protocols are going to be same. Maybe the doses are different, probably you have to calculate it on the basis of per kg of body weight, but the treatment of HIV infected children involves unique pharmacologic, virologic and immunologic consideration. Compliance is an important part. It is not only true for this, it is also true for tuberculosis. So you have to ensuring the maximal effect from a given regimen. Simpler will be the regimen, the easier it is for the patient to be compliant, and hence nowadays you can give a combination regimen as fixed dose regimens which are available, and if a combinations of, as I said, tenofovir and lamivudine, these are given in a fixed dose combinations, is going to be best for the patient. So what is the indication for changing this antiretroviral therapy in patients with HIV infections? When you see a less than 1 log drop in plasma HIV RNA by 4 weeks following the initiation of therapy. If you see that the drop is 4 weeks, within 4 weeks, if you see this drop, then you have to change this. If you see a reproducible significant change from the bottom of this plasma HIV RNA level, which is not attributable to intercurrent infection or vaccination or test methodology, then you have to change the antiretroviral therapy regime. If you see, in spite of giving treatment, the CD4 T cell numbers are decreasing continuously, you have to think about changing the regimen. If you see, in spite of giving treatment, in spite of saying that laboratory investigations, that everything is okay, but patient is deteriorated clinically, you have all the right to changing the regimen. And where you will observe that adverse drug reactions are going to be more, and mean the risk benefit ratio is not favorable for the patient, you have all the right to change the regimen and can replace with some other group of drugs, even if the previous drug was very much effective in terms of efficacy. So these are the common ways, common reasons for which you may have to go for changing the regimen of antiretroviral therapy. And two things are important in this regimen beside the clinical deterioration and adverse drug reaction. One is HIV RNA value and other one is CD4 T cell count. So let me allow to complete this second part of this discussion by showing you once more the slide I have shown you in this group of presentations, series of presentation, where we can see the regimen we used to follow, a non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor base, that is efavirenz, tenofovir and emtricitabine. Tenofovir and emtricitabine is basically the common group, and it is added with the non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor, that is efavirenz. What is missing here, or what are the groups which we are keeping in our hand? The drugs are protease inhibitors and primarily integrase inhibitors. The protease inhibitor